shapes with them, all different ways like that, and all of the different effects we could do with that. And I was thinking, I was in a production of Once on This Island, and there was a number in it called Rain, and we did it a little more abstract, but what we did is we had these umbrellas that had tinsel hanging from them, and I was thinking, what if we had like black umbrellas that had clutter, or like the streamers hanging from them, and what sort of different movements we could do with that. Just like, it would add a different element of movement to it that we had not done yet. So, yeah.
So we can't really demonstrate that right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The next one was actually like if we did have them on like dowels or something where we could have the. That's just Coke in your glass? Why would you do that?
I didn't do anything bad.
A choice can change everything. Careless choices.
What some kindness would do. Any choices I've made? Regret.
Hide them away, but I'll never forget. That was sort of the idea of that, the physicality of it, what we could play with.
I didn't have
Then the third idea was
I was doing it halfway through.
he was kind of doing it, but we felt like clutter, like we had that discussion of, is clutter seen? Are we doing this? So what if clutter was off stage and they launched streamers? Because we do have that ribbon effect. And if the streamer did have enough weight, obviously corner to corner, so we're not aiming it at the audience. But you get that idea.
Okay.
I
And
wonder. I'm sorry, are we
No,
allowed
go.
to
Yep,
wonder?
go.
I wonder what would happen if, throughout like the arguing, the clutter is wrapping itself around the three members of the family, and then at the end when they break apart, or when they're arguing, that it breaks, because then you've got Christabel wrapped up in this clutter, and she has ties to both of her parents, but the tie between her parents is broken.
We
I don't know.
actually did
That
a
visual.
version of that in the classroom, and it came back to the is clutter seen versus not seen thing. But what we found when doing that was that it created a very claustrophobic feeling between the three of them, especially like with the arguing and stuff, because the ribbons weren't just like around their feet, they were like over their shoulders, and like Jessica was hanging on to the ends of them, at, like trying to keep them together and stuff.
And then they broke apart.
And then they broke apart. And it was just like left lying there.
Remember the streamer idea? Like you have them on sticks and you're kind of like a ribbon dance kind of thing. Because kind of going back to with the balloons, like streamer, I always think of those as like kind of like happy, like little kids playing with them. Like I had one when I was a kid, and like the idea of that going into like a negative kind of thing. And with the emotions, you can really make it very like emotional and angry.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like you can do swift actions, you could do fluid actions, and one of the things that we were talking about was, like how tangible is clutter? Is clutter something that you can like actually reach out and grab hold of, or is it more something like a force?
Right, which are the things that we need to play with when we're
Right.
playing with it? Like,
And
those are-
so that's why, like, when we wrapped it around us, that was more of it being a physical force that could actually hold you and constrict you. Whereas when we were doing sort of the waving it around, we were hoping to go for a more, like, abstract feel, like it's a presence.
I wonder if clutter mimics the movement of the mom and dad, and then, like, for instance, it was very circular motion, and which made me think, well, then are the mom and dad circling, and then the clutter is mimicking that around them, and then it comes onto Jessica. Is there anything else?
We kind of also talked like having like a rod here and like having it attached to the person, and as they went, it would spin off. Like it would get stuck, and then it would just pull
And leave a trail.
and leave a trail.
I wonder.
And then when the scene was done, you just strip it.
Yeah, I wonder what would happen if everybody in like fine art had a colored ribbon like that, and then like the clutter had a dark ribbon, and just like picture that would create.
I wonder, kind of Courtney's idea with the streamers wrapping around them. What if it's the parents person, but the idea the parents are giving the clutter to Jessica.
I wonder if the clutter comes from other people in the world, in reality, attaches itself to the girls when something bad happens, and then when they get to Farnard, it detaches itself
And becomes
and transforms and enters. That's how it enters the world.
Yeah, and that goes back to like the idea of being able to have it maybe like as a puppet, and have something be able to either be on strings, on sticks, whatever, and give it that sort of, you know, you could have a puppeteer and do like the like Japanese style and just be all black where it's taken as not seen, and then manipulate it and all of the different things that we could make with that, and we could make a literal monster at that point. Like we could make something that.
Yeah, and I wonder too, if in each scene it's attaching itself to them and it grows on them, and that's how we see that their only release is Farnard, is because it's building on them, it's all over them, and then when they go to Farnard, it all goes away. So when they come back from Farnard, they're fresh, and then we see it building again, and then they go and they're fresh. So that's how we know that that's their only release, and that's how we see that, like, why they would be addicted to it.
I also wonder if there's like, you know how people say there's like word vomit? Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's cluttered vomit, because there's those streamers that come out of your mouth. Like Shakespeare, and like the idea, like if I cut your throat, it's like a ribbon or something. Like how can you like manipulate that idea that it just comes continually out. I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but I mean it goes on forever, and you can like a clown and like hang scarves or whatever. Like it just keeps coming out and coming out and coming out. Yeah, get into the woods. I have to you sell it.
The other thing, I remember I worked birthday parties before, and like we did, we had streamers, and when we would clean up, one of the jokes that we would do, because we would drape it, is we'd gather all the ends up at the tape, and we'd end up with all of these like loops, and we would call them squids, and we'd like do things with them. And I wonder if you like attached the streamer to the balloon or something, like if you could make things like that too. It doesn't have to be like just streamers or just balloons in one thing. There's all different sorts of things that we could do with that.
Yeah, like a balloon with like a streamer attached, kind of throw it. So first there's the balloon, and then there's kind of the streamer kind of flying behind it.
And like a streamer could be used to animate the balloon from afar.
And then what happens if we put helium in a few balloons? How's that?
That'd be cool. Cameras and helium.
We can even go further.
Actually, that would be really cool. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
Oh, but like there's the line about the I've been looking at the sky as if something is missing, and how like would we actually physically change the sky if we had things that were attached to helium? I mean that's all something that we could actually manipulate a full sky.
We could also go with the fact that, going based off the ribbon idea what we were having in there, you could attach a dowel to a balloon, and then have multiple ribbons attached to the balloon, and then have it become this crazy thing bug. That was very disruptive.
Okay, cool. Oh, go.
No, it's also just, everybody keeps talking about dowels, but like the way you guys were just using them with your hands was like completely effective. So I wonder what the point of having dowels would be. Like what is it to give us more height? Can you get a different kind of control, or what is it?
It's a better control.
What is it to be touching the thing as opposed to having a distance between you and the thing? Like visually, thematically.
Well, and the thing that we were talking about with the dowel, it's a different type of ribbon too. It's not this confetti ribbon, so it floats easier. It does have a different control.
Well, it might be, but it might not be.
Right.
It could be.
It could. Well,
And it gives it a different feel. Like this, one thing, I remember working with kids on it, and I don't even remember any of it anymore, but this has like, because it's so much lighter, it has more of a like flutter to it, whereas the ribbon was much more smooth and fluid and almost like snake-like. So those, I mean, like you can combine different materials too. And once again, like with the thing with the dowel, it might be neat to experiment with, well, what if we have some people like holding it and some people having dowels? Like what different effects can we give it, and can we mix things and match things and sort of like combine that like that, or does it need to all be the same?
Yeah, I just think we need to talk about what it means to have one or the other. Like, what visually are we saying with it? It's not about technically how do we do it, but like storytelling wise, what does it say?
Like, I'm controlling this thing, or like there is this space between.
Or does it matter? Does it look the same either way?
I feel like when it grows, like I was just picturing the battle scene with the dowels. By that time, it's grown so large that it's further reaching, that it's able to manipulate
So
the
does it grow
Fornarians
from
that are in the battle.
So like the tails grow? Is that what you're like saying? Like
Yeah,
that it
with
gets
the
bigger?
dowels, you have the opportunity to use more of the streamer, so it has a further reach. It's more encompassing and all that. So that's just what I pictured when Jen was asking about what the dowels might bring to it.
Well, and that's another thing that I remember with the dowels that we had a little difficulty with the streamer, was that the added height it made it easier to surround people like vertically and have it spin around them physically versus just spinning behind them, which just once again gives a totally different effect depending on what you're going for, and just once again just the movement of it.
Cool. So, I feel like both groups have a lot to think about and play with. You have 15 minutes, and then we'll just see the scenes really quickly again. Cool?
Cool.
Make the most of your time.